The end of water deprivation for residents in St. John, St. Joseph, and St. Thomas is drawing nigh. Although the water pressure in affected areas in St. John, St. Joseph, and the Eastern Corridor has been absolutely severe, the technical team of the Barbados Water Authority, under the Ministry of Transport Works and Water Resources, has outlined works to be undertaken and expedited here in the massive Vineyard Water Augmentation project designed specifically to rectify the problem of water shortage.
I know that extensive work was done in St. John as it relates to main replacement. We have work being done and some being completed at Churchview, Clifton Hall, Coach Hill. You've just seen Messiah Street, Welch Village, Hot House. All of these are locations where extensive main replacement is being done through the Barbados Water Authority. Now, to the residents in St. John, I am fully aware that the problem that we are experiencing in St. John and the Eastern Corridor, St. Joseph, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, will in short order be solved.
The Vineyard Water Augmentation project is well in excess of $10 million.
I'm saying to you that we're using a scaffolding approach as it relates to projects within the ministry. By that, I mean that we're building on one project after the other. So it is not only St. John and St. Joseph and the Eastern Corridor that is going to be fixed, but eventually all of the issues that we're having in the country, we are looking as much as possible to rectify that. If it is through the replacement of mains, if it is what is happening now at Vineyard, where we're augmenting the water supply that will come to Bomiston and Golden Ridge, all of that is in place. So there's a new push. I mean, Minister and myself, we're driving on the chair and the staff at Waterworks that in 4 weeks, I am blown away by the amount of expertise that is within the Barbados Water Authority. You know, you look from the outside and you're critical, but now when you're in the place, you understand the amount of pressure that is happening on a daily basis. And my phone constantly blows up with problems in terms of leaks, in terms of persons not having water. We understand the fractured nature that was there before. And I'm saying that in a similar way that you would have seen today that we're fusing those pipes together, we are going to fix the fractures that are happening as it relates to the water resources on this entire island.
The government of Barbados is fully committed to the works being conducted within the parishes of St. John and St. Joseph. The Barbados Water Authority has done an outstanding job, an amazing job in putting together the resources and the project teams necessary to facilitate the works that you would witness yourself on tour this afternoon. You would have seen that and heard earlier that we have commenced 7.3 kilometers of mains replacements throughout this constituency. But I also want to advise you that the government of Barbados, through funding from the CDB, also negotiated a $14.8 million loan facility to also help with mains replacements within this constituency of St. John. I must tell you that at the conclusion of the mains laying process, the Barbados Water Authority, as the executing agency, would have spent in excess of $23.8 million on the mains replacement program in St. John. In other words, the residents of St. John will benefit from perhaps having the most modern mains laying program, mains facility within the parish of St. John. We're spending the money here because it's going to have a reach all the way through to St. Joseph, right through to St. Thomas and St. Andrew. And as you would have heard from the experts, the engineers, Dr. Mwansa, as well as Mr. Charles Leslie, you would have heard from them, giving you the more technical details. Now, the people of St. John and certainly St. Joseph will have better water access. And not taken away from the Barbados Water Authority, but they will have better water access as a result of the significant capital expenditure that we have made available in this area. So for us as a government, it is an ongoing commitment. As you would appreciate, over time we have to replace mains. we will have within the Barbados Water Authority and certainly within the ministry a new strategic initiative to ensure that we have mains replaced. You will ask that, and you would certainly recognize that mains replacement is not a cheap undertaking. It is a substantial undertaking. In fact, we have been advised that 1 kilometer of mains would cost you $1 million. But we also have to recognize that the mains that we've had in Barbados through the length and breadth of Barbados are in some instances in excess of 100 years old. So it will take time. I give the people of St. John and St. Joseph our commitment that we will ensure that this project to supply water to them and to ensure there's a consistent supply of water in the areas mentioned, our commitment that we will do whatever it takes and whatever is necessary to ensure they have a consistent supply of water.
There is a very specific reason why Vineyard in St. Philip was chosen for the water augmentation project.
We're moving water from a location of excess to an area of deficit. We're moving the water from a vineyard here in St. Philip, where we have a bit of excess water, into the areas where we have deficits like St. John, St. Joseph, and parts of St. Thomas. This vineyard, what we call the Vineyard Water Augmentation Project, it comprises of a pumping station. We're going to be having a pumping station here at Vineyard. We're laying 7.3 kilometers of main, the entire length. We're having a reservoir and a pumping station at Mount Pleasant, and this system will transfer water into those areas of deficit. We have, working with the Barbados Water Authority to accelerate the program, a number of contractors. There are about 6 contractors working, and as we go along the route, you will see that has helped to accelerate the installation of the pipes on this route.
It is recognized that climate change will have a serious impact in the Caribbean on water resources. It is predicted that the rainfall may be reduced by as much as 20 to 30%.
Additionally, the frequency of droughts will increase. Now you have to recognize that a drought does not come in one size. So some droughts will be small in magnitude and you could deal with them comfortably. And then there are going to be droughts that only come in so many hundreds of years apart. Now we recognize that. Additionally, the rainfall intensity is going to increase. So when you get rainfall, you're going to get a heavy downpour, and what a heavy downpour does is when it hits the ground, it compacts the ground. So you're going to get more runoff. The minister would have gone on a tour where we looked at locations where we could put check dams and impoundments so that we could retain some of that runoff that will be coming as a result of that increased intensity of rainfall. Additionally, we are looking at a program where we could get private landowners to maintain the drainage wells on their properties so that as much rain as falls on the ground, when you get that runoff, instead of that runoff reaching the sea, we will catch it before it gets to the sea, and it will contribute to recharging the aquifer. And the check dam positions that we are looking at will do 2 things. The ones that are inland will be able to minimize flooding, but they will also be responsible for recharging and providing more water to the downstream wells. The check dams that will be at a lower level will induce that water into the ground, stop flooding, but the water that goes into the ground will then flow towards the sea to keep the sea at bay so that you don't get salt water intruding and impacting our water quality. So the number of strategies that we're using that will provide us with the resilience that we need in our water supply system going forward.
The check dams will be located at various points of the island.
The Danscombe Gully and Porry Spring Gully meet at a point which is north of Portville Sugar Factory. We had, through MTW, the drainage unit, we had an understanding and an agreement with Carl Williams to mine the coral rock that is at that junction to create a depression. And that depression, what it does is when that water coming from the two gullies comes down, it will be held back in detention and allowed to filter down into the ground, contribute to groundwater recharge, and the flooding that you used to see downstream by the Hotown pond will be minimized. There is also a new check dam that has been constructed. If you go to St. James Cemetery, the mouth of that gully opens straight into Sunset Crest. I don't know how the houses got built there. But we have constructed a check dam again there, which will hold the water back and minimize the amount of runoff that ends up flooding Port Town. Cellar Gully, MTW built a check dam there. If you go by the Y junction, if you come from the rock and you get to the Y junction, you see the gabions there. And if you look down the gabions, you see a check dam there too, which is contributing to reducing flooding. MTW has also built 2 check dams in the gully that runs behind St. Thomas Church, and that will contribute to again reducing the flooding into Sunset area. So there are a number of locations where these check dams are going to be done. It is not going to be one location.
Fulfilling the mandate of providing water for an entire nation involves a tremendous amount of work as well as financial resources. This was pointed out by Chairman of the Board of the Barbados Water Authority.
Challenges that we face are often challenges that statistically are astounding, but for individuals who have no water in their taps, who have babies and the elderly to deal with, they don't want to hear the statistics, and we get that. We understand that. And that is why the team at the Barbados Water Authority, and when I talk of the team, I'm not just talking about that group of excellent engineers that we have. I am also talking about the support staff. I'm talking about the Barbados Workers Union, who have assisted us in many areas in being able to mobilize the men and women that form part of their constituency to facilitate the expedition of the process of getting water to people.
With the construction of a booster station at Vineyard adjacent to the existing Vineyard Reservoir, the laying of 2.7 kilometers of 16-inch mains from Vineyard to Mount Pleasant, the building of a reservoir and booster station at Mount Pleasant, and the laying of an additional 4.6 kilometers of 16-inch mains from Mount Pleasant to Eastmont in St. John. It is anticipated that approximately 1 to 1.5 million gallons of water will be relocated per day from Vineyard into St. John. This means that at the end of this project, the people of St. John and St. Joseph will experience water woes no more.